just at the end of the shot clock. Patience is a virtue. Good take. And on the reverse, how about that? Curl it home, Jeremiah.
When you catch that ball out of rotation, you got to be ready to shoot or attack that rim.
Welcome into the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast. I'm Erin Summers alongside Jim Eichenhofer and Wes Johnson. Here to discuss the last week of Pelicans play. They had a weekend trip to the West Coast where they played Golden State on Saturday and then the Lakers on Sunday night. Tough back-to-back, down a couple bodies, of course. So let's start with just your biggest takeaways from those two games.
I would say the pace. It started to pick up. It was a good fight, especially with Golden State. It was sluggish. We couldn't really find a rhythm offensively, either team, but you can see like the pace and how we wanted to play. Last night with the Lakers, you see that the same thing. The pace picking up, defense picking up. Yes, we didn't have our normal guys that were out there, but the foundation of what is being said as far as the identity. Mm-hmm. You saw all the guys buying into it. You saw all the guys trying to contribute in ways. And, yeah, you see it slowly coming to fruition. 121 can beat anybody. It's just the defensive side, how we're going to get stops. But both sides, both games was a good output. So it's something you can take away and really look at and then start to build off of.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway was really one side of the ball was a letdown in both games. The Golden State game, they couldn't score enough. They couldn't generate enough offense to be able to win that game. It seemed like it was exceedingly winnable throughout the whole night. It was like if they can just put together a 6-0, 8-0 run, this is a game that they can win, and they just weren't able to do that. And then obviously not only was the offensive problem the whole game, but then at the most crucial part of the game, Golden State went on like a 10-0, 12-0 run. You're up, Pelicans are up by 1. Now you're down by double figures, and there's not enough time left to come back. And then conversely, the game Sunday night against the Lakers, it was the defense. Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned it, Wes. They scored 120 plus points, but they gave up 133, and it was just one of those things where you couldn't get enough stops. And just like Saturday, from the very start, the offense was a concern. On Sunday, the defense was something. I mean, you give up 46 points in the first half. Right. You give up 77 in the first quarter. Right. You give up 77 in the first half. And it just felt like, even though I think in both games you saw a lot of competitiveness and a lot of fight, in the game against the Lakers, it seemed like they were making runs and you thought, okay, they're getting back into this. They cut it down to 11. But 11 seems like so much more than 11-point deficit when you can't get stops on defense.
Exactly.
So that was the tough part. It was like, both games, I thought there were some good signs, but one half of the floor was really the reason they lost both of those nights.
Yeah.
I think one of the keys we've talked about is consistency.
Yeah.
And yes, they are building those habits that James Borrego is starting to implement and things that he wants to hang the hat on, but doing it consistently, because after that first quarter against the Lakers, take that away, you won the rest of the game.
Right.
But it was like the Lakers came out, they're like, all right, we're going to establish ourselves early, make sure we get out to a lead, and then kind of cruise the rest of the way. You can't give anybody that kind of lead or confidence going into a game. That being said, you were down several bodies in both games this weekend. Herb Jones remains out, Carlo Matkovic, obviously DeJounte Murray still out, and Jordan Poole. But then you add Trey Murphy into the mix and Jordan Hawkins. That's tough. I mean, that is a lot of offense that you're missing. And then, of course, Z doesn't play in the back-to-back as well.
Right.
7 players down in in Sunday's game against the Lakers.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, in any aspect of any team that we need to play, we're missing all those guys. Our main guys are missing, and you're asking a lot of guys that probably wouldn't get that much playing time, but they made the most of their opportunity. And going back to a team with Golden State, we were struggling. It's just those attention to detail moments, like those fine moments, I mean, those crucial times that those mishaps happen. That's growth that you want to continue to see. Offensively, with us in the Laker game, you saw us have the offensive power, but the defensive side, we weren't able to make those crucial stops. Again, it was like we were going to run. We were doing what we needed to do, but it was they would make a big shot. We would mishap on a backside rotation, they get a layup and a tip in. It was like those little things, but missing all those guys. Those are veterans that you're talking about, guys that played 5+ years, that have been in wars, that have been in these battles, that can really make do over their time out there. But we're asking a lot for the guys that are out there last night. So it was, they did the best of the opportunity, but it's tough to ask them to do so much.
I mean, if you just look at some of even just the simple math of that they consistently are giving up more three-pointers than they're making as a team. I think some of the players that are in larger roles that are filling in spots that we didn't expect to be the case. We didn't expect Bryce McGowan's to be starting in the 21st game of the season. We didn't expect necessarily that Trey Alexander would be in the rotation. And I think both of those guys are examples of guys that are capable of scoring more points, making some three-pointers. But if you just add up the whole thing, it's like the Lakers have Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, and you're asking guys that weren't expected to play necessarily a ton to play similar roles for your team.
Right.
And if you just look at that, simply put, it's not going to work that well. And one thing, too, that you mentioned that I think you could speak to more than me as a player who played in the NBA, I think we saw in the Lakers game, there must have been a handful of times where ball comes off the rim on the defensive end, two guys go after it, ball gets knocked out of bounds, there's no communication between those two players. Now, I think on some level you say this is a basic of basketball that you say, I got it. You call the rebound. But on the other hand, not to make too many excuses, but I mean, a lot of these guys haven't played together. So I feel like there's a lack of familiarity from that standpoint as well, that we're seeing some plays. I mean, we're seeing passes to guys that aren't connecting. Somebody's cutting towards the basket. The other guy's, you're expecting him to go back out to the three-point line. You throw a pass, it goes out of bounds into the stands. It just seems like have you seen that lately?
Yeah,
like you just see like a lot of just lack of familiarity happening.
Yeah, of course, especially with the passing. I mean, a lot of guys, you expect them to be in a certain spot and they're cutting or moving. You don't know how he plays or what he likes to do. So that happens. The rebounding, yeah, I play with a lot of bigs that'll be like, get out of here. What are you doing down here? So if I see any of the bigs down there and I know it's just us two, I'm just letting them have it. There's this rule of thumb. Like, let them get it so we can get out and run. So that being said, like, it happens. Those little mishaps happen, but they shouldn't. You look like, oh, my God, it was both of y'all. But it's that communication. I got it. Go, run. So this trying to learn your teammates. But the passing aspect, yeah, that's just more playing one another and where they like the ball.
I think overall it's just developing chemistry, both sides of the ball. Under a new head coach that stepped in here, he didn't have training camp to really run you through, drill these things in.
Right.
And now you're dealing with so many different players in and out of the starting lineup. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I feel like we've had double-digit starting lineups. And that's
13 or 14, I think, through the first 21 like games, most in the league. Yeah.
Right. So that's really hard for anybody to just jump into, especially players that aren't as experienced in general.
Yeah, you're saying different lineups, different players. A lot of guys you think that weren't going to be able to play or crack the lineup, and now they're in it. And then you're talking about a whole new system. So it's new for the coaching staff, it's new for the players. So a lot of revolving doors. So you just want to go out there and keep it as simple as possible.
And I think some of the frustrating part of it, too, is obviously with the record that the team has, 3-18 through 21 games, you look at that record and you say, okay, if you didn't know anything about the season, you'd think that they've been constantly getting blown out, which that was the case in the first week or two of the season. But lately it's been, sometimes that is the difference between winning and losing, is just a play or two here, a missed pass here, a rebound that you didn't communicate on. So, I mean, that is the tough part, is if you look at their record in clutch games, and obviously last week, the game against Memphis, they could have won. The game against Golden State went down to the wire as well. That's been one of the reasons why they have won so few games lately, is they're in games, which is encouraging, but a lot of times it is that thin, narrow margin of error.
Yeah, that possession game, that's what it becomes down to, especially in the game. The focus area, what do you want to run, those type of things. And you're heading back to the coaching. He didn't have a training camp. So he's not able to get on the guys and say where you need to be, this is how we're going to run stuff. So it's a learning process for him. Same with the players in those crunch time situations. And then going back to the lineups, we haven't had a really consistent lineup to be able to be out there in those crunch time situations to close out games. So, yeah, it's a lot of growth and it's a lot of expectations of the team that you look, and the record is not a truth teller to what's been shown, but it's a long season.
Growing pains. And that's kind of where we're at. But I hope it's going to pay off down the line.
It will.
2-8 in clutch time games so far this season. So to your point, they've been in 10 of them and they've played 21. So yes, they have been in a lot of close games. Looking back at this past weekend, what's been the best and worst that has come out of this first quarter of play, actually, when you think about it? We're a fourth of the way through the season.
I would say I think the changeover of the identity is starting to show itself. as far as how we want to play. Now you get an idea or a glimpse of the speed. We were saying stay dangerous with the defensive side. Get out and be
Violent.
violent.
Right?
Yeah. So get out and do what you need to do, and just go out there and just have fun and play. You see them being intensive as far as, okay, I'm going to get the run, advance the ball. I'm getting out on the break. You see guys trying to touch the paint. So you see guys trying to buy into what it is. That goes back into being consistent, regardless of who we're playing, regardless of who's out there. Do what we need to do, and that's the identity, that's the culture that we're trying to do. So you can see it starting to turn a page with that.
I mean, to me, the best part of the first 21 games of the season has just been the rookies. Will Guillory mentioned this on a recent podcast with us last week, that one of the biggest things overall, big picture, that the Pelicans needed to do was hit on those 2 lottery picks. And it seems like they've done that both of these guys, they've had some ups and downs, as rookies all do. But, I mean, overall, you just see the long term of the skill set that those guys have. So, I mean, to me, that's been the biggest positive so far. I think the biggest negative has just been, and I feel like we've said this often the last few years, is just the availability of the players, that
I thought we were going to move past this after last season.
And, I mean, Zion having a stretch where he missed a bunch of games because of a hamstring injury, and then multiple other guys not being on the court, to the point where you do look at it on paper and you say it's going to be tough to compete some nights, especially when you're playing against some of the best teams in the Western Conference, teams that are red hot, like OKC, they played already twice, the Lakers that they've played twice. So that's just been disappointing, just to see that they just can't. I mean, Wes has referenced this already a couple times, that they just can't put the same lineup of guys out there, and they can't build the chemistry. And just, I'd honestly never imagined after last season that they would have the start that they've had this year. It seemed like last season was everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it seems like maybe it hasn't been to that extent so far, but it feels like we're inching towards that, where it's like there's just so many things that you couldn't conceive happening all at the same time.
Exactly. It's tough. It is definitely tough, because you're not getting a fair shake of what it could be, and especially with the talent that we have, with the guys that we have. And if we did have them, and it would be a different story, I would think. But it's hard to go by it just because of the guys are not out there. But the guys that are playing, you're getting to see, like you're saying, attest to the rookies. They're getting a lot of run, a lot of bump against the best. And the schedule hasn't been kind. So they got to show what they're made of early. And you can see that they have a lot of talent to survive and to stand out in this league.
According to NBA.com, as of Monday morning, the Pelicans have had the 3rd toughest schedule in the NBA, which, I mean, I'm surprised that there's 2 teams that have had it harder than they have. But it also doesn't surprise me that they've had one of the most brutal schedules. They haven't played that many games against the East, which is going to flip here soon. It feels like they've played every quality team in the West, which there's a bunch of them already, more than once in a lot of cases, and now they're going to play Minnesota twice this week as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, looking forward to what we have coming up in December, what is a couple game stretch there that you're looking forward to?
I would mention a couple of teams. I'm looking at Houston. I like Houston, just what they tried to do with their team. So I'm looking forward to that game. And I'm actually looking forward to the Brooklyn game. Just saying.
Why? Because you feel like we're going to get a win?
Of course. Yeah, that is one of the things. They have a young team as well. And regardless who's playing with us, it's a good test for us to continue to work on what we need to work on. Minnesota's going to be tough playing them, but I'm looking forward to the Brooklyn game, and I'm looking forward to the Houston game.
Yeah.
A couple games I also thought of the Houston game. I mean, they haven't played them yet this season. I'm curious to see the Rockets in the Smoothie King Center. I mean, they've been off to a great start. I'm impressed with the way that they've played, obviously with Kevin Durant and some of their other role players. Another game I had listed was December 29th against the Knicks, which is another team that the Pelicans haven't played yet. Also, I think it'll be interesting. December 26th and 27th, they host the Phoenix Suns. I think there's a little bit of payback revenge maybe there, because the game in Phoenix early in the season did not go well. Grayson Allen went crazy.
He went crazy.
And so just the opportunity to play that team 2 nights in a row, I think will be interesting.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about it on the same wavelength as you. I'm not taking the Brooklyn game because that's going to start the turnaround for the Pelicans.
Yeah.
We're going to beat Brooklyn. And then you go into San Antonio, who is without Victor Wembanyama and probably still will be without him. Then Portland, both in the Smoothie King Center. And then you go to Chicago,
Right.
which obviously a team that you beat. So I think that we have a win streak coming second week of this December here.
It's due. It is well due for it. It's time for it because we're in games. It may not seem like it. You look at the last game like we had. Yes, we started off bad. Yes, we did. But we're able to fight and sustain it. Mm-hmm. We are turning a page on, putting quarters and quarters behind, like together. So if we start off a good game, have a good game, especially coming up this Tuesday, I think that we could start showing like, okay, we can start closing these games out. So Brooklyn, yeah.
It's a launching pad.
It is.
I like your optimism, Erin. I don't like to make predictions, but I will say the part that I agree with is that they will be entering a stretch where they're playing teams that are not dominating the league. They're playing teams that are closer to 500 or in some cases below. So if there is an opportunity for you to string together some wins, I think right now it definitely needs to happen as soon as possible because obviously they're 15 games under 500 right now, and you got to start getting back closer to 500 so you can get in that play-in race.
For sure.
Okay, so you don't want to predict what's going to happen, but when
Almost
we get
never.
to the end of December, where do the Pelicans need to be at?
Yeah, I think they need to be closer to 500. I mean, they have to, so to do that, obviously they need to have a winning record in December. Mm-hmm. One thing that's a little bit helpful from that standpoint, hopefully, is they have 10 home games in December and only 4 road games. And of the 4 road games, they have 2 in Chicago, 1 in Brooklyn, 1 in Cleveland. Cleveland is a tough team, although they've been slumping a little bit.
And that's on the second half of a back-to-back.
Right.
It's a home away,
Yep. So it looks a little bit more manageable. There's a bunch of really good teams in that December slate, some of which we already mentioned. But to me, big picture-wise, on New Year's Eve, they play at Chicago. By that point, you need to be in a position where, okay, you're still in the race. If I bring up the play-in race, if I tweet out like there's X number of games out of 10th place in the West, I don't get a bunch of comments from people saying what are you talking about? This is crazy. So that's where I think they need to be at the end of December.
So Jim doesn't want hate by the end of December, basically.
Yes.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I think it's possible. I think that it's not far-fetched to assume or really say, because you look at the games that we had and the team that we have played, and we have competed with those teams with the lineups that we have put out there. I think it is possible for us to start chipping away at it and getting close to that play-in. It's manageable, especially in this month where we're going to play some tough teams early on, but we are getting those teams where those are games that we need to win. So we need to win the games that we have to win, and those are the teams. It is what it is. Brooklyn, we can beat those teams. Minnesota is tough, but we can beat those teams. Like, we had a good game plan when we played Steph, when we had our guys and we took Steph out the game. Moses Moody went crazy, but we still would manage it, and we could beat those teams. So it's having confidence, going out there and doing what we need to do and focus on us.
And I think some of the good news, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of good news, unfortunately, so far this season, but the West is always really good, but there is a little bit of a drop-off this season after the first 7 or 8 teams or so. And we've talked about this on previous shows, that there's multiple teams that have gotten off to bad starts. So the door is still kind of open for the Pelicans but they have to put together some wins, because if they keep playing, even if they play a little bit better than they've been playing lately, I think they won't be in the race for very long, and we won't be able to say like, okay, well, maybe they can catch the Grizzlies or the Clippers or the Mavs, some of these teams that have been off to disappointing starts.
I hope at the end of December we are looking at a consistent lineup.
Yes.
And we are healthy. Everybody's back. We are in a flow. The chemistry is starting to build. That is, I think, will also lead to wins. So,
yes, it will.
Yeah. Looking at the next couple games, Minnesota twice, Brooklyn, and then San Antonio. Jim, give me your trending numbers.
Okay, so let's start with Minnesota. My trending number for them is 10, which is their defensive rating. Now, they've been a very good defensive team for the last bunch of years, especially since they traded for Rudy Gobert, which was kind of a second-guess trade. But I think when you look at it now, it's like they've been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. You can't complain with the results that they've had. They were 6th last season in defense. They were 1st 2 seasons ago. So, I mean, to me, it's still a big time challenge to play against them for the Pelicans. But can they take advantage a little bit and generate enough offense? Now, we don't know, especially Tuesday, who's going to be available and who's not going to be on the court. But regardless of who's available, I'm curious to see if the Pelicans can score enough against them, because that's been something that they've had a problem with in the past. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean,
You should get Zion Williamson back because he was only sitting because it was a back-to-back.
True.
So
Yeah.
Good
at least
point.
we'll have that offensive threat.
Right. So if he's playing, if he's available, I mean, that changes the dynamic of the game. I mean, one, he puts a lot of pressure on the rim, and we seem to have good, I would say, when everybody's playing a good scheme towards people's stars. So it's just taking care of everybody else. So if we have a game plan to slow down Ant, we will have somewhat of a successful game and see how we close it out.
So those are two games. They play Tuesday and Thursday against the Timberwolves here, which we'll look forward to. Then Saturday, they're at Brooklyn. My trending number for that is 2. And the Nets drafted 5 guys in the first round. Only 2 of those guys are actually in the top 20 in total minutes among rookies, which is very surprising to me, because you would think if you're going to draft that many guys and you're not going to trade any of those picks, you're going to keep them all, that you're going to have those guys on the floor. So I thought if there was an interesting aspect to Brooklyn to be able to watch them like on League Pass this season or when the Pelicans play against them, it was you're going to get to see a ton of rookies play.
Right.
But as it is, Yegor Joman is
Then
there's confusion among everyone, including Brooklyn broadcasters, how to say his name. Him and Drake Powell are the only 2 guys that have played a lot for them so
Right.
far. So I just thought that was an interesting aspect of it. I mean, I never would have imagined that in a Pelicans versus Nets game in December that the Pelicans would have more rookies on the court than Brooklyn going into the season, but that could be the case. And then the last trending number is the Spurs, who they play next Monday before we record the next podcast next week. The trending number for the Spurs is 5-2, and that is in their last 7 games that they've played without Wemby, they've actually gone 5-2. And even though they've had other injuries besides him, they've won a bunch of games and played really well, which I think is a credit to especially De'Aaron Fox and some of those other players. So, I mean, I've just been impressed by the way that they've been able to still compete and beat good teams without some of their main guys.
Yeah, they're a good team. If you're looking at the makeup of them, Wemby is Wemby. I mean, if you remove him, all those guys have been together. Looking at a team that's been together, all those guys been through the fire. They had losing seasons, so all of them know each other. So, and you dealing with a coach that's been there before, so his voice has been heard, regardless of Pop being there or not. They understand what is the assignment, and missing guys, they actually plug and play. They have a system, they have an identity of how they want to do it, and it's a testament to the buy-in of them.
It'll be an interesting stretch for sure, but again, I think we can get some wins over this next stretch. Looking at this past week, give me your player of the week.
Let's close this with some good news.
Okay,
The player of the week for the last 7 days and the last 4 games is going to be Saddiq Bey. He averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, shot 51% from the field, 43% from three-point range. He's earned the nickname The Professional, which I'm not sure where that nickname came from. Was that Antonio Daniels that came up with that?
I think it just came from his brain.
Okay.
So,
So I think that says a lot about just the way that he carries himself, and he's just been really reliable. He's been a guy that you can expect to come out there and pretty much do the same thing every night. By the way, Wes, did you have any nicknames when you were a player in the NBA?
In the NBA, no, it was West Side or West Coast. It was just a lot of teammates just start calling me that.
Because I looked on Basketball Reference, because Basketball Reference has all these crazy nicknames, and I was disappointed because for you it just said Wes. So, but anyways, the player to watch over the next 7 days is going to be Micah Peavy.
Yeah.
He averaged 10 points and 2 steals a game over the last 4 games. I thought he did a really nice job, and his confidence seems to be growing. And I'll throw out one stat for him too about his offense. In the 4 games this past week, he scored 41 points. He had 47 over the previous 5 weeks of the season. Granted, some of those games he didn't play very much, and I think he had some DMPs as well. But it just seems like basically he scored almost half of his points of the season just from the last 4 games. I really like the way that he's looked lately.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead and say it.
Peavy?
Yeah,
he's shooting that thing. That threes, those threes. Yeah, I'm impressed with his confidence. You see it growing. I think the opportunity of him being able to play more. You see him being comfortable out there. Defensively, he's super sound. I think the offense is going to continue to grow for him. He has, regardless who's in the lineup or who's playing, he plays the same way. He gets the rebound. He's pushing it. He's attacking every time. So, yes, I'm agree with you to watch him. And Sadiq, of course, he's steady. I mean, he does nothing changes what he does, how he plays. He's true to himself, and he's like that even kill type of player, and it shows.
I think another reason too that I wanted to list Micah Peavy for a player to watch this week is, I mean, he might get Anthony Edwards' assignment. He might get Michael Porter Jr. He might get some of the wings and guards that the Spurs have. They have a bunch of guys. It's a little too early from this vantage point of Monday morning to know 7 days from now who's going to be on the court.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Stephon Castle made a huge three against the Pelicans the first time. Dylan Harper is really talented. They have a bunch of guys that are dangerous offensive players. So I think Peavy will have an important role this week. And I think he has gotten to the point, even if some guys come back, where they can rely on him for that defensive stopper role to just be disruptive.
Yeah, it says a lot about him.
I think what's been impressive about all the rookies, you mentioned PV, but Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, they are not afraid to get in there. It doesn't matter. They're going up against Luka or Wemby or whoever.
Yeah.
They treat him just the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Jeremiah Fears getting after it with Luka Doncic, and I love it. I like that, just the tenacity that they play with. And I think there's a lot of good things ahead for this team. Going into the month of December, we have a lot to look forward to, and I appreciate both of you guys for breaking it all down on the New Orleans Pelicans podcast. For Wes Johnson and Jim Eichenhofer, I'm Erin Summers. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you get out to the SKC, taking some of these games, because the month of December is absolutely loaded with home games. So come hang out with us.